Canada and the United States share a relationship that is both close and complex, rooted in a common history, a border spanning over 8,800 kilometers, and some of the world's most significant economic exchanges. Yet, behind this proximity lie political, economic, and cultural tensions, reflecting a dynamic that is often ambiguous. In fact, tensions have never been higher since President Trump, newly re-elected, declared that Canada should become the 51st U.S. state. That's why, in this video, we invite you to explore the relationship between these two countries. Let's get started. The relationship between the United States and Canada has a rich history, marked by conflict, cooperation, and interdependence. From as early as the 18th century, this relationship began under the shadow of mistrust. During the American War of Independence, Canadian colonies, under British rule, remained loyal to the Crown, while American loyalists fled to Canada after the insurgents' victory. This period was followed by the War of 1812, in which the United States attempted, unsuccessfully, to invade Canada. This event strengthened the ties between Canadians and the United Kingdom. Throughout the 19th century, relations evolved. Treaties such as the 1818 Convention, which established part of the border, and the Oregon Treaty of 1846 helped stabilize relations. At the same time, cross-border trade grew, particularly with the Reciprocity Treaty of 1854, which temporarily enabled a form of free trade between the two nations. The construction of transcontinental railways also reinforced commercial exchanges. The 20th century marked a turning point in their relations, particularly with the two world wars. Both countries, as members of the Allies, cooperated militarily and logistically. This collaboration deepened during World War II, notably with the 1940 Hoch-Dainsberg Joint Defense Plan, which aimed to coordinate North American defenses against potential external threats. During the Cold War, this cooperation peaked with the creation of NORAD in 1958, a joint command established to protect North American airspace from Soviet threats. Additionally, both nations were founding members of NATO, further strengthening their military partnership. However, despite close collaborations, tensions arose. On the economic front, trade disputes emerged, particularly over issues such as softwood lumber, agricultural products, and negotiations surrounding NAFTA, signed in 1994. NAFTA aimed to remove trade barriers between the US, Canada, and Mexico, creating the world's largest free trade zone. However, persistent disagreements led to negotiations to modernize the agreement. In 2020, NAFTA was replaced by the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, which sought to resolve some of these disputes and improve trade conditions between the three nations. Also known as the North American Free Trade Agreement, its revision is scheduled for 2026. On a cultural level, Canada has sometimes viewed the dominant influence of American culture on its media with concern, striving to preserve its own identity. One example is Canadian broadcasting regulations, which aim to promote Canadian content and limit the overwhelming presence of American culture. The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, CRTC, enforces quotas for Canadian content on radio and television stations. For instance, radio stations must play a certain percentage of Canadian music, and TV channels must include a specific proportion of Canadian programming in their schedules. These measures were implemented to protect and promote Canada's cultural identity in response to the dominance of American culture in the media. Despite these tensions, the relationship between the two countries remains characterized by strong interdependence. The United States continues to be Canada's primary trading partner, while cross-border initiatives, such as the protection of the Great Lakes, illustrate their collaboration on environmental issues. However, occasional tensions, particularly surrounding the Keystone XL pipeline and immigration policies, serve as a reminder that disagreements persist. For instance, the Keystone XL project, proposed by the Canadian company TC Energy, aimed to transport heavy crude oil from Alberta, Canada, to the Gulf of Mexico in the United States. However, this project faced strong opposition, particularly from environmental groups and local communities. Under the Obama administration, the permit for the pipeline to cross the US-Canada border was denied in 2015. This decision was later reversed by the Trump administration in 2017, which approved the border crossing. In January 2021, President Biden once again revoked the permit, effectively ending the project. This decision led to tensions between the two countries, with TC Energy filing a $15 billion lawsuit against the U.S. government for damages. The Biden administration justified this decision based on environmental concerns and the importance of combating climate change. In recent months, however, relations between the two countries have taken a new turn. In December 2024, Donald Trump raised the possibility of making Canada the 51st U.S. state. He stated, "A lot of Canadians want Canada to become the 51st state. They would save massively on taxes and military protection. I think it's a great idea." However, a December 2024 poll conducted by Leger showed that only 13% of Canadians would be willing to join the United States. Before the resignation of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Donald Trump even referred to him as a governor rather than a prime minister. It's important to note that the United States consists of 50 states, each led by a governor who serves as the executive head of the state. Meanwhile, Canada is currently facing a major political crisis. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation after nearly 10 years in power. This decision comes amid growing dissatisfaction within his own party and among the public, due to high inflation, a housing crisis, and failures in public services. The surprise resignation of Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who disagreed with Trudeau over managing economic tensions with the U.S., has further contributed to this instability. Furthermore, Donald Trump's recent promises to impose a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico have worsened the situation. Since exports to the U.S. account for over $3 billion in goods and services daily, the tariffs Trump wants to impose could cost Canada tens of thousands of jobs. The Liberal Party must now find a new leader to face the upcoming legislative elections scheduled for October 2025. The situation is even more critical given that the party is at its lowest in the polls, trailing by more than 20 points behind its main conservative opponent, Pierre Poilievre. But let's return to Donald Trump's statements. In response, Justin Trudeau declared, "Never, ever will Canada become part of the United States." But why is Donald Trump making such statements? The fact is that 75% of Canada's exports go to the U.S., creating significant economic dependence. Canada exports a wide range of products, including oil, natural gas, manufactured goods, minerals, and even rare earth elements. As a result, many experts are not worried about an actual war but rather an economic war. Speaking to RTBF, Louis Blouin, Parliamentary Bureau Chief in Ottawa for Radio-Canada, explained, "Our sources within the Canadian government tell us that this is a negotiation tactic. These remarks about the 51st state are meant to unsettle Canada. This isn't new, it's Trump's method. Try to intimidate and destabilize the opponent before upcoming negotiations." However, the Canadian government is taking this economic threat seriously. In fact, it is preparing a countermeasure, with a list of American products that could be subjected to higher tariffs. It is clear that Canada-US relations are experiencing unprecedented tensions, particularly in politics and culture. While both countries share major strategic interests and vital trade exchanges, their disagreements on key issues highlight the fragility of this seemingly strong alliance. As Canada strives to protect its identity and independence in the face of its powerful neighbor, recent political and economic developments suggest a challenging period ahead for the relationship between these two nations.